Today we are committing gun porn. Let me show you what's inside. Oh! Look at that! Look at that! Look at that stock! Oh my greatness! All my other guns are jealous. They don't want to talk to me. This is the Daystate Pulsar 0.22 high power, probably the sexiest gun in the country, in the world for that matter. Oh my greatness, this is gun porn 101. Hear my breathing. Oh, my other guns are going to be jealous, so jealous. Come and play with me, baby. Alright, so this is the gun porn I'm sitting with today, and I call it gun porn because, wow, just look at that. My greatness, probably one of the most beautiful bullpups in the world, and I mean that with utmost respect. What a nice gun. This is the wood laminated or the forest laminated stock. This is the high power 60 foot-pound baby, and it's got the extended barrel. That's the one indication that this is the high power one. This one is actually loaned to me by a good friend. Andre, thank you. I've got an Afrikaans verse for you today. Die engel van die Here slaan 'n laar op rondom die wat hulle dien en beskerm hulle. You are well protected, my friend. Thank you for borrowing this gun to me. I only have this gun for the weekend, unfortunately. I already told Andre that I'm falling in love with the gun, and he gave me a very stern dad to son talk. Don't even think about it. Right, so this gun is actually currently set up for a left-hand shooter. It's got the cocking grip on the left-hand side. It is totally ambidextrous, so you can put it on the right-hand side as well. It comes with two magazines that I've got. I've got the old school magazine as well as the new school magazine. I'll give you guys a close-up of that just now. Couple of things that stood out from the gun from the word go. First and foremost, probably the best trigger in the world. This is so smooth. You are just thinking about pulling this trigger and it goes off. Alright, so very soft, very nice trigger on this one. And the second thing that really stands out is the smooth cocking lever action. I haven't felt anything as smooth as this. That's why I'm playing with the gun adultery again. What an awesome little gun. 3 power settings, low, medium and high, and I'm going to shoot them all today. So I've got some pellets in 16 and 18 grain that I'm going to shoot in the low power setting. I might go for the higher power settings depending on the speed. I'll check on the Crony just now, and then lo and behold, if I've got time, I've got some slugs to throw through this barrel as well. So let's get into the nice stuff. Let's test this gun. Alright, our setup today is quite nice and simple. I've got my table here for stability. I've got a bipod there, and we've got a 50-meter range going all the way back to there. You'll see that I've got my official target on the left hand side, I've got a sighted target on the right hand side, and between different pellet brands, and I don't show this on the video because it wastes time, I actually just let the barrel quickly with the new pellets so that I know that optimal accuracy is with that pellet and no nasty surprises. I also do the same between power settings as well because the gun needs to adjust. With this gun, although this is an electric trigger mechanism and it adjusts the speeds by itself. There's no mechanical working in here. It works with a solenoid in the inside. Currently set on mid power. I'll change it down to high power or low power just now when I start shooting. But this is just an awesome gun. Adjustable back buttstock at the back, extremely smooth cocking lever. It's got a dovetail rail on the top, and I've mounted the Valiant scope on that because I just love that little scope. I've got a cheap little bipod there in the front. and I've got a clover leaf silencer. Now you'll go, why? Because this clover leaf has got enough volume to quiet this gun right down to a whisper, to a little baby's fart that you don't want to smell. That type of quiet. So that's the setup, that's the range. I've got a slightly overcast day, but at this stage windless. So I want to get shooting as soon as possible. There's a slight breeze I can feel on the face, but you don't see it in the trees itself. I am on the farm again. This is a private shooting range. I do have permission to shoot here, and it is 100% safe again. All right, let's get into this. I can't wait. I'm like a child with a new toy, or like an adult with a new mistress, whatever. All right, let's get into the shooty beaty part of the scenario. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to shoot a couple of different groups with different weights. First up, I'm going to shoot the JSBs. These are the Jumbo de Hablos in 15.89 grain. I'm going to shoot them at low power, because at high power they are zipping more than 1,000 feet per second. So I'm tuning it down a little bit. I'm going to shoot at high power, at low power. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. 2 10-shot groups, 50 meters, 55 yards. Now, that was quite weird and interesting in the same scenario. 2 10-shot magazines, and yes, they are running way too fast. So they were running initially at 1,010 feet per second, but as the power dropped, and I'm still on the regulator, the power started at 150 bar, it's now down to 118 bar, so that's 20 shots, what, 41 bar on 30 shots. So that's not very economical, but at that speed, what do you expect? 2 things. Extremely smooth cocking lever. On the left hand side bugs me a little bit because I have to reset my point of aim every time. But the weird thing is that for a regulated gun, there was actually a drop in speed a little bit that concerns me, because it started on 1,010 feet per second, and the last shot I think was at 980 feet per second. So there's a 30-foot difference between being on 156 bar versus 110 bar. Obviously 1,000 feet per second is way too fast for these pellets to group accurately. But even that said, I think those are inch groupings at 50 meters at 1,000 feet a second with pellets. Yo, that's pushing it a little bit. Let's go measure up.
Indeed, at an average of more than 1,000 foot per second on the first target, that is acceptable. At the second one at 990 feet per second, also acceptable, because let's be honest, this is way too fast for these pellets. Let's go on to the other 16 grainers and see if they can handle the speed.
Now this is the fun part about what I do. I get to test stuff. I've always wanted to shoot these Olympia domes 15.89 grain at a massive speed, and today's that day. Now the Olympia domes are slightly longer than your normal Diablos, but it's got the same shape. So it'll be quite interesting to see what they do if I push them a little bit and there's no wind, because last time the wind got hold of them a little bit. Today there's no wind. All right, that was wow. With a rec pressure all the way up to 200 bar, down to 168. Again, that's what, on the dot, 34 bar usage, 20 shots. Not too shabby for the high power, but the consistency were spot on at 1,016 feet per second. Well done. So consistency a lot better with a little bit higher rec pressure, or the fuller cylinder, should I rather say. Let's go and measure up, give you guys the results.
Let's not dwell on this too long. Again, way too fast, and the groupings were acceptable, unacceptable, acceptable, unacceptable. That's like lukewarm water. Alright, let's go on to a little bit heavier. Let's go on to the 18 grainers.
Alright, so I'm sticking to the low power setting, but I'm moving over to 18 grains, and I'm going to shoot the H&N Baracuda 18s. And as luck would have it, my last 19. So target 1 will have 10 shots, target 2 will have 9 shots, all out of stock. Alright, that first shot was totally me, nut behind the gun again, but not too bad. I would have loved to actually have the Baracuda matches here at 21 grain. I think those pellets and this gun will be a match made in heaven. It will slow it down to around about 930, 920 feet per second. Currently running at about 960, which is again too fast for Diablo type pellets. Well, 9 shots to go, let's go. Alright, not the best grouping I've ever shot. At round about 960 feet per second. Again, way too fast for these 18 grain pellets. But I'm going to try one more. Next one up is going to be the JSB Exact Jumbo Heavies, the Cometas, also in 18 grains. Let's measure up quickly.
On just over an inch and maybe 2 inches on the right hand target, the speed was just too fast for the Baracuda 18s. Wish I had the matches at 21 grain. I think that would have been a nice fit. Let's go on to something different.
Right, last one at 18 grain. Cometa keys. Let's see what they do. Oh my greatness. These little Cometas. Wow. They surprised me again. Running again at about 960 feet per second. That is a decent grouping. At that speed. I like it.
This was by far the best groupings by a single pellet for the day. Well done, little Cometas. It's a half an inch group, 50 meters, running at 958 feet per second. That is extremely fast and a very good grouping.
Alright, time for something totally different. Gun charged up, just on 203 bar. H&N 21 grainers, 0.218 slugs. Let's see what they do. High power. Ooh, that was way too much power. Over 1,000 feet per second. Not what I intended. Going down to medium power. Alright, I think that's still too fast. Let's detune it to low power. Alright, that's interesting. Not great, interesting. Let's go and measure up.
Alright, at closer inspection that wasn't too bad at all. At 1020 feet per second, maybe a little bit slight for these light grain sluggies. But at 977 feet per second, that up and down movement was less than a half an inch. Quite acceptable. And then, my greatness. This slug surprised me again at a slow speed, at 895 feet per second. That is the one thing that I absolutely adore about the H&Ns. You can shoot them anywhere from a slow speed all the way up to around about 950 feet per second. They perform across the board. Alright, time to move on to something different.
So my special treat today is a slug that I haven't seen on YouTube lately. The FX Hybrids in 22 grain. I'm going to put it through the paces. Let's see what it does through the Pulsar. That's not bad at all. The one thing I did notice is that the bolt battles to close a little bit with these slugs. Let's go down to medium power. Alright, so they didn't like the slower speed. At least they were quite decent at the higher speed. Alright, not going to shoot them at the lowest power setting. I'm just going to waste time. They are dropping like flies already down to 915 feet per second. Let's go and measure up.
The FX Hybrid Slugs in 22 grain also prefer a bit of speed behind it. The moment the power came down and the speed dropped down, the groupings opened up again. Would be interesting to see if we shoot these little goons at 1000 feet per second, if they will open up there, or no, if their sweet spot is round about 950, where I found that most slugs' sweet spot actually is. Alright, but that's just my findings.
Next sluggy up for a test is in 22 grain as well, local flavor, called Unknown Slugs. Yes, that's a brand name, silly, Unknown Slugs. Let's go for it.
Alright, there's not too much to say about this. The only thing I can say is that guns are sensitive to slugs. The first grouping at a massive speed of 990 feet per second showed some promise, but the sweet spot 946 didn't work, and then at 868 2-inch grouping, the gun didn't like the slugs. Let's move on to another slug.
Alright, so while we're on the slugs, let's go a little bit heavier. Let's go 23 grainers, and this time it's the H&N 23 grains in .217. Right, act 2, scene 2, take 2. Let's go dead center. Oh well, that wasn't too bad. Need to go and measure that and give you guys a closer look at that one. But it looks like the 23 grainers H&N actually goes hand in hand with the Pulsar. Let's go measure up.
Now that is slightly better. I was actually surprised at the good grouping at 979. I didn't expect that. I did expect it to group a heck of a lot better at 930. But that 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches, still acceptable. Seeing that this gun is not fine tunable for slugs, I'll take that in the meantime. Well done, H&N.
Alright, so sticking with the H&Ns, sticking with the 23 grainers, these are the .218s. Looks like the gun actually loves the 218s. Alright, not as good as the first grouping that was slightly faster, but still decent enough. Wonder if I can shoot them slower. Let's try. Okay, they didn't like the slower speed. Let's go and measure up.
Best grouping so far. At a 1/2 inch, that is what I'm looking for. At a whopping 980 feet per second, that is impressive. Opened up a little bit on 935 and almost the same grouping at 849, but that's not too shabby, Nige. Hey, I like it. I like it a lot.
Alright, local is lekker, as I always say. On to one of my favorite slugs, the Javelins. These are the 23 grainers in 217, locally manufactured, internationally available. Alright, very interesting thing about harmonics and slugs. On the faster speed, the grouping wasn't brilliant, but at the slower speed of 914, 915 thereabouts foot per second, great grouping. Quite impressive for 217s. Let's go measure up.
The harmonics between the guns are so vastly different. At 965 feet per second, these slugs usually group excellent out of my FX, but it doesn't want to group out of the Daystate. Although at 919 foot per second average, it grouped a heck of a lot better. That's about an inch and a quarter grouping at 50 meters at a much slower speed, and at that speed my FX absolutely hates these slugs. Just shows you harmonics, harmonics, harmonics.
Right, last 23 grainer for the day. Again, Javelins, 23 grain, 0.218. Now that was interesting. When I shot the H&Ns, the gun loved the 218s more than the 217s. But when I shoot the Javelins, it loves the 217s more than the 218s. Just shows you, every single barrel is different. Different harmonics, different tuning, different speeds. Let's go and measure up.
Both these groupings were decent. That's not earth-shattering, but decent. But this time round, at the slower speed, I got those two flyers or two outsiders there, and the gun was a lot more consistent at the higher speed. Opposites attract, I see.
Right, so something went horribly wrong with that first recording, 10 shots down the line. I'm not going to adjust the speed. Let me show you that again. Oops, I ran off the reg on the last 4 shots. So the regulator on this on high power is plus minus 155 bar. Then it drops down to about 135 bar if I'm not mistaken on medium power, and 105 bar then you're off the reg at low power as well. So that concludes that. Let's go and measure up and we'll give you the final summary.
And I am so impressed with these JSB knockouts. 25 grainers at that speed, 930 feet per second. I should have brought the H&N 25 grainers to play with. Looks like this gun can handle this slugs at this speed. Quite impressive. And those are two decent groups, except for the 1 or 2 nutter shots in between. Alright, let's do a final wrap.
Alright guys, that's me from Aim Small with the sexiest gun. Just want to stroke it. Oom Andre. Alright, now I promised I'll take your gun back to you on Monday. Alright. What a ball. What a ball. An absolute awesome gun. Best trigger I've had on a gun in ages. Cylinder about 20 shots from high power to medium power to low power, another 20 shots, and then and out about 25 to 30 shots. So depending on what you want to do, if you go high power, and I only filled it up to 200 bar to 165 bar when it jumps off the reg, 20 decent shots. On medium power, from 165 bar down to 125 bar, just over 20-25 shots plus minus. And then obviously on low power you get a bucket load of that. So if you shoot the gun totally on low power from the word go, and you're going to shoot pellets at one heck of a speed, you're going to get in excess of 70-80 shots, which is quite decent for a high powered gun with such a small cylinder on it. From a economics perspective, absolute nice gun, nice to hold, nice and light, quite nimble in that regard. The longer barrel is not an issue at all. Even with the long silencer on it, it is still a compact gun in that regard. Again, Daystate, well done. But the stock, oh my greatness, adultery.
That's all, folks.